Hello Math 3 to 11 students, welcome back. Let us resume our discussion in section 1. Previously we talked about 1.1 and 1.2 and both of them are monoalphabetic ciphers. For each letter in the alphabet we have one and only one image assigned to it. One and only one letter assigned to it. So we have preimage and image relation so that we have one-to-one and on-to correspondence no matter what. Those are typically vulnerable against statistical analysis, so people devise a little bit more advanced systems, polyalphabetic ciphers, and this example, which I'll show you in a moment, revolutionized the world of cryptography in 16th century, but actually it goes a little bit before that. A lot of people credit this to Blaise the Visionnaire, but as a matter of fact this was not invented by Visionnaire. He went to Italy and then he studied those, he learned those, and then published it in France, and then French people thought, oh, he was the inventor, but actually it was not. He just I think went to Medici family, and then got some enlightenment. The Renaissance began earlier in Italy, and then he just disseminated these new ideas to French people, ended up with a lot of credit, but actually it wasn't his. Anyway, it goes like this. We begin with those numbers A to Z, 0 to 25, and let's stick to English alphabets for our simplicity. For other European languages, the modulus typically becomes bigger because, as you can see, even his own name, we have songs like this. So, we're gonna need a little bit bigger number than modulo 26, accents or some umlauts or whatever. Okay, and then we have multiple keys. Multiple keys, but easy to remember, like this. A word, keyword, ready, and READY, 17, 04, 0, 03, 24, ready, and then add those up. Basically, we are using this shift cipher, multiple shift ciphers at once. Here's an example, attack at once. Yeah, it's a fitting example. I mean, in 16th century, what kind of people use encrypted messages most often? Well, military uses very, very typical ones, so it's a fitting example. Attack at once, and then we add ready as highlighted in blue, and then next as highlighted in green, and then as highlighted in brown, like that. And if we had longer message, then we have a ready, many readies, and then we are going to do all the addition, modulo 26. So basically, for each column, shift cipher takes place. So adding 17 modulo 26, and then adding 4 modulo 26, adding 0 modulo 26, and then adding 3 modulo 26, and finally adding 24 modulo 26. If you do that, you're going to get this result from the first addition, and then next result from next ready as highlighted in green, and then these two, only R and E were used because that's a last segment. So we get this kind of result, and then if you rewrite all those digit strings into a string of alphabet, that's what you get. And look at this. This is not monoalphabetic, it's polyalphabetic, so it's much harder to break. Look at these two T's. Originally we have 19 and another 19, but in the end we have two different numbers and consequently two different characters. So it's much harder to use the statistical analysis. Still, it has its own vulnerability. once the length of the keyword is exposed, then this cipher can be broken through statistical analysis. For example, let's focus upon the first. Yeah, okay. Highlight in bold, 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 and then this one, highlight in bold, 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 and then one more, adding 17. And so on and so forth. If you have much longer message, then every 5 letters, you're gonna get the same shift cipher going on. So exactly the same method as breaking the shift cipher 1.1 will be utilized here. You can use statistical analysis and then which letter shows up most often and things like that. You can do those kind of things if the length of the keyword is found. What if you don't know that? Well, you can make some wild guesses. Suppose that you have a large team of code breakers, say 20 people, 50 people are working on it. Then you just divvy up. Okay, you work on possible 4-letter keyword. You go ahead with 5-letter keyword. You go ahead with 6-letter keywords and so on and so forth. And let's try. And one of them breaks, and that's it. So this is, of course, an improvement compared with the previous method, but still it has its own vulnerability against statistical analysis. How do we remove that vulnerability? Well, one way to do that is auto-key cipher, and that too was introduced by Visionnaire through France, but it's still unclear whether this is by Visionnaire or he was just a messenger from some unknown scholars in Italy. Anyway, consider one key, one letter key. Let's say K for key, and then use that key as the very first letter and then shift the others like this. So K is key, and then the original message is one if by dawn. And what does it mean? Is it part of a poem, or I don't know? Or why does this textbook author found this particular phrase? I'm not so sure. But let's suppose that K is the auto key. Then all right, K right here, as I'm highlighting in red, and everything else just shifted a little bit. And then the last character N, that information is lost. But is that going to be a big problem? No, not really. If you have a long message and then very last sentence or last several words is totally meaningless, not part of the message. So even if that goes out, it's not a loss at all. And then after this shifting, we just add them up as if we do shift cipher. And then that'll give me, well, let's see, K is 10, as I'm highlighting in red. Oh, this. One of the features that I really hate from this updated Mathematica is this automatic, this change of alignment, automatic realignment. And I'm thinking this is not an update. I think this is a bug, as a matter of fact. Okay, and then the last character N is lost. That information is lost. And then we add them up. 14 goes next, 13 goes next. This is 4 goes to next. Everything is shifted by 1, right? And then add them up. We get a digit string. And then if you translate that into alphabet, you get something completely unreadable. And then from here, if you know the key, then you can backtrace and retrieve the original message. But if you don't know the key, it's really hard to apply the statistical analysis here. There's no repetition coming. It's strong against statistical analysis, and this method has been widely used in 16th and 17th century. I learned it from our textbook, as a matter of fact. Before the textbook, I didn't know about it, as a matter of fact. But there's a problem though. It has only one auto key, so in 26 tries it'll break. Not good. So how do you improve? Well, of course, we can try multiple keys. If you use 2 letters, then all this message will be shifted 2 steps. And then last 2 characters will be lost. But as I said before, in a long message, last sentence or whatever comes last is just meaningless jargon. So that's not really part of the message. So you're not really losing anything. And then, of course, not just 2 or 3 characters, but if you have a little bit more, such as yeah, ready, something we used before, then we can certainly increase the security. And then as for the probability that you are somehow guessing and hitting ready is 26 to the 5th power. And that's a lot. And if you use even longer password, maybe entire sentence as passphrase or, pass sentence, the key sentence, then this method becomes really strong against any kind of attempt to break. Yeah, so it had its own heydays, as a matter of fact, and it is still usable these days. And then if you see the kind of term auto key cipher, that means the method introduced by Vigenère and some variation of it, some advanced version of those. Let's see, do we have time for a little bit more? No, we don't. Let's stop here. So we just talked about polyalphabetic cipher system, and that was interesting. Let's meet again with block cipher and other things too.